The Huns are the first ring in the formation of the Turkish identity. In this video, we will remember the Huns, the starting point of Turkish history. In the 3rd century BC, a state rose in the vast steppes of Asia. This state, founded by Teoman, was not just a political entity, but also a cornerstone of Turkish identity. So, who was Teoman? He was the one who united the armed forces who fought with each other of the Great Steppes, bringing order and unity to the region. The capital of the state was Baideng, and it was the first empire of the Turks, with Teoman as its first emperor. Over the years, Teoman expanded the empire from the Sea of Japan to Demirkapa. He succeeded in uniting all the forces of the steppe, including the Tungusic and Mongolic peoples, under his rule. After doing all this, the aging older Teoman had to decide who would succeed after him. Teoman had 2 sons from his 2 different wives. To ensure that his son from his wife Yenchi would take the throne after him, he sent his other son, Mete, as a hostage to their rivals, the Yuezhis. After a while, relations between Teoman and the Yuezhis deteriorated, and he declared war on them. According to one account, he initiated this war to get rid of Mete Han. However, things did not go as Teoman had planned. Mete found a way to escape from the Yuezhis. As a result, Teoman, impressed by Mete's success, assigned him command of a division of soldiers. However, Mete was fully aware of everything that had happened and had already made his decision. The new Khan of the Huns will be the first Khagan of the Turks. He began training the army under his command as a special forces unit. The whistling arrow, which is considered his invention, and is also referred to as the sergeant arrow in some sources, was used to indicate targets. Whichever direction he shot it, his soldiers would do the same for the same direction. To test the absolute obedience of his troops, Mete employed various methods. Frequently going on hunting trips, he first aimed his arrow at his wife. When some soldiers hesitated to shoot, he executed them. On another hunting trip, he shot his arrow at his favorite horse, and this time, all the soldiers struck the horse without hesitation. Once he was certain of his soldiers' unwavering loyalty, he went on another hunt when his father was also out hunting. In the forest, he aimed his arrow at his father, and all the soldiers followed suit, ultimately killing him. A new era had begun. After becoming the ruler, Mete transformed the Hun state into an empire, and under his reign, the empire would experience its most glorious period. Mete is referred to as Oguz Khagan in some sources, and as Dul Qarnayn in Arab sources. His greatest influence, without a doubt, was in the military ground. The establishment of a regular army and the discipline instilled through his training would serve as an inspiration not only during his own era, but also for many nations, especially the Turks, in the following periods. Mete launched an expedition against the Doknu Turks, who had previously requested land from his father. Then, he brought the Tungusic people in northern Mongolia under his control. His next expedition would be against Yuezhi, under whom he had been held captive for 4 years. The Yuezhi were the greatest threat to the empire after China. After a long campaign preparation, in 203 before the Common Era, he launched an expedition and incorporated Yuezhi into his territory. Finally, after bringing the Tahin Turks in the Ordos region under his rule, complete unity was achieved on the steppe. Mete Han expanded his empire during his time from the Korean Sea to the Caspian Sea. Now, it was time to dominate the Chinese states that controlled great resources. He gained significant wealth by attacking the Chinese fortresses in the Sarirmak region. During this period, some changes occurred in China as well. The Han dynasty established a political unity in China, and a great war between the Huns and the Chinese became inevitable. The battle known as the Battle of Baideng began when Emperor Gaozu led an army of 320,000 men to march against the Huns. In response, Mete, with his army, crossed the Chinese border and began plundering the southern Chinese cities. The goal here was to release fear in the Chinese and provoke the emperor. Beneath his adventurous appearance, Mete was a cautious strategist. Instead of advancing deep into China, he besieged the Mai fortress. Upon learning that the person defending the fortress was the emperor's nephew, Mete took the prince into custody after the prince realized that no help would come. Mete had now achieved his goal. The emperor, following what seemed like Mete's disorganized raiders, advanced all the way to the mountains. Meanwhile, Mete's soldiers were well prepared for the winter conditions. The emperor's army, on the other hand, was made up of hastily gathered and disorganized units, caught unprepared for the harsh winter. Many of them had frozen fingers and were unable to even shoot arrows. The emperor now faced two options. Either he would retreat, or he would finish what he had started. For the emperor, however, there was only one option. He would finish what he had started. While the emperor continued to pursue Mete's cavalry, which gave the impression of disarray, he fell into a trap with a sudden maneuver by Mete, resulting in the destruction of many of his soldiers. Realizing that winning the war was impossible, the emperor sent envoys with gifts for Mete's wife, offering peace. Mete, aware of his own strength and influenced by his wife, accepted the peace offer. According to the agreement, the emperor would send a tribute disguised as gifts every year, and a princess would be given to Mete. Additionally, the Huns would trade near the Great Wall of China, and the northern trade routes would be left to the Huns. The Battle of Baideng is the first example of the fake retreat tactic that would be used by nomads throughout history. For the Chinese, this battle is considered the beginning of the fear of the Turks. After Mete's death, his son, who is referred to as Lao Shang in Chinese sources, succeeded him. Lao Shang ruled the vast and stable empire left by his father for many years. He defeated the Yuezhi, who had weakened his father's power, erasing them from the historical stage. During this period, there was little change in the Hun Empire, while after their defeat, China, which had shrunk and weakened, entered a new era of reform. Especially with the military reforms, the emperor trained his soldiers using a Hun-style model and adopted a Hun-style military structure. After consolidating his power to a certain extent, although he could not face the Huns militarily, he resorted to what we call intrigue, which, in the political arena, is referred to as scholarly politics. The Hun Empire was not affected during Lao Shang's reign, but things would change after his death. Following Lao Shang's death, the Khan, referred to as Kun Qin in the sources, took the throne. During this period, the Huns suffered heavy defeats in battles while also dealing with internal issues. The Chinese princesses, who were married off, spread Chinese culture, including within the palace, and emperors began giving their children Chinese names. The politicians among the soldiers assigned to the Chinese princesses stirred up tensions with the Hun Khans. These conflicts began during the reign of Kun Qin and continued throughout the reigns of emperors, whose names we no longer feel the need to mention for many years. The turmoil that continued through the Ho Hanyu and Chichi periods would result in the division of the empire during this time. The wars with the Chinese, along with uprisings from the Tungus, Mongols, and some Turkic tribes, had greatly weakened the empire. Chichi was the last Khan of the Huns. Although he was older than his brother, he was the Yabgu of the Han Empire in the east. The prolonged wars, in Han Ye's view, had to come to an end. To establish good relations, Chichi went to China and accepted many terms, including aligning with China through peace. Because of this move, Han Ye could no longer be considered a Yabgu in Chichi's eyes. Taking action, Chichi seized control of the empire, leading to its division into two parts, the west and the east. Han Ye, on the other hand, made an agreement with China to form a defense pact. In the event of an attack on either state, the other would come to its defense. Over the next 18 years, Chichi participated in numerous battles. Chichi was growing increasingly stronger by defeating Kyrgyz. He was also ready for war with China. While waiting for a move from China, Chichi, on his return from the Western campaign, found himself with a large portion of his army lost. At a time when he had taken refuge in a fortress in Kyrgyzstan, Han Ye appeared before him. Chichi and his soldiers, who numbered around 1,500, fought for 2 days. In the end, Chichi, along with all his soldiers, was killed. As a result of this event, the last Khan of the Huns was dead, and the empire effectively came to an end. The remaining eastern Hun state became a plaything in the hands of the Chinese, and through their intrigues, it was first divided into north and south, and then gradually consumed one by one. The divide, conquer, and rule strategy has been one of China's most important tactics since the early periods of history. The Turks, meaning the Huns, would live without a state for a period until the era of the Gokturk Empire, when they would rise again.